and
Did you
welcome
clap?
back. Yes, I clapped.
Okay, I can't hear it. Sorry.
You're all good. Welcome back to Made for Walking, the bonus season.
Bonus.
Bonus. And I'd like to take a walk real quick.
But Boots, we're in the middle of recording. This is such a bad time to take a walk.
But it's the Made for Walking podcast.
Oh yeah, well then screw it. Let's go.
Exactly. Let's go for a walk. So, anyways, our walk is going to take us back in time. And we're going to walk with someone pretty important to the modern day environmental movement. But before we take a walk and meet this awesome person who I think is super well worth learning about, Tom, I'm going to ask you, what books have you read lately that have changed your life?
What books? Well, speaking of the Hopi people, the Hopi Survival Kit was a great book that really changed my perspective. What was the last book I read? Oh, I liked Dreams. Was that it? Dreams, Signs, and Reflection by Carl Jung.
Okay.
I think those are the ones that I would say have changed. That felt like my brain chemistry was different after I was done.
All right, perfect. What are some books maybe that you've read that you think have maybe impacted the world at large?
Wait, let me make sure I got that title right. I would never forgive myself. I would say, let's see, Memories, Dreams, Reflections. Yeah,
Okay.
I can never remember the order.
Mm-hmm.
The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Prince Harry's book I heard was changed the world.
Okay.
The Bernstein Bears. I mean that was really effective.
Mm-hmm.
The Very Hungry Caterpillar was good.
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a classic for me.
Rocked my world.
I became a little hungry after reading it. I feel like we all did.
Yeah. I'm hungry just talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my short list.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you can tell there are books that influence people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's important to know about some of these more influential books that maybe not everyone has read in recent history. So one of the ones that I had to read for class as an environmental studies major, but once I learned about it, it's been pretty crazy. It's called
Yeah.
Silent Spring.
Okay.
Silent Spring is by a author named Rachel Carson, and it comes out at a very influential time when the modern environmentalism movement starts. This book comes out around the early 50s and kind of sparks a lot of change within the U.S. government regarding certain chemicals being used.
Okay.
So let's start with an introduction. Who is the author of Silent Spring?
Rachel
Yes,
Carson.
You in the back? Rachel Carson.
We have the same
Well-
last name. We're probably cousins.
Well, I mean, it gets a little crazier. Born in 1907 in Western Pennsylvania.
Same state.
I know, Pennsylvania pride.
Pennsylvania pride. Dude, Pennsylvania is just coming in with their environmental passion.
I love it. That's what Pennsylvanians are made for. Environmental passion.
I agree. I think every Pennsylvanian should take that to heart.
Mm-hmm. So, she grows up in a pretty well-off condition. She's able to go to school, well-off parents. Once it becomes time to go to college, she does something that's not very common for women in the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
She goes for science.
Right.
Science is at this point in time dominated by men, which
Mhm.
is, kind of messed up in my opinion.
Definitely. I mean, most things were dominated by men in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
The Freedom Boys Club.
It really is. And so she goes into zoology. When she was growing up, she had a passion for marine life, the animals around her properties and such that she was growing up on. So she said zoology. That's where she wants to go. So in 1932, she graduates from Johns Hopkins with a master's in zoology, which is like big
That's
deal
lit.
for, yeah, big brain, big smart,
Big smart. For
big
sure.
smart, yeah. And then she goes to work for the Fish and Wildlife Service to write radio scripts.
Okay.
She's a pretty prolific writer. She had a knack for writing and telling stories. And so she took that talent of hers mixed with her passion and knowledge base and kind of just like combines them.
Mm-hmm.
She is doing really well. Doing really well in the Fish and Wildlife Service. Is a government entity. It is said in interviews with people that she knew and people that she worked with that she brought a awesome energy into the government entities. People were laughing, having fun with their jobs instead of just being like, nose up, chin up, we're the government. She's doing so well. She's doing a great job. She becomes the editor-in-chief of all wildlife publications for Fish and Wildlife in 1936. So
That's lit.
in the course of 4 years of hard work and like doing awesome stuff, she ends up becoming like top dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's been working there for a while. She does super well. She's written her own like publications and stuff, personal ones. And in 1955, so pretty much down the road, she publishes The Sea Around Us, which is just a highlight of the work she had done in Upper New England with like the tide pools.
Nice.
Yeah, people love this book. It becomes a New York Times bestseller for 86 straight weeks. Broke records
Mm-hmm.
doing that. So like she becomes pretty like a household name.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's super cool. She's super awesome.
Yeah.
But then there's a big issue.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a big bad pesticide.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an old pesticide too.
Yeah.
Created in 1874 in
Wow.
Germany. It's just made by some chemists,
Sure.
students. They don't really know what to do with this chemical,
Uh-huh.
and the chemical is called DDT.
Ah.
This is big bad.
Is that similar to DEET, or do they just sound the same?
They sound the same.
Okay.
DDT is way, way, way worse. But it's effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So World War One breaks out.
Yep.
But one of the big issues that doesn't get talked a lot about is people getting typhoid fever from lice and other like illnesses born from the bugs that are like all over the dead animals and people in the battlefield.
Yeah.
It's a big issue.
Yeah.
And so 1936 kind of rolls around,
Mm-hmm.
and World War II is about ready to start.
Mm-hmm.
Gearing up for another huge war.
Mm-hmm.
But people are aware of this bug issue that killed a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So they found DDT and apply it to pest control, try to kill bugs. And it works wonders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And are they putting it on the food? Their food?
Oh, they're putting it on people.
people.
Oh, yeah. You just put that on your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put it everywhere.
We wonder why our grandparents and parents are so angry all the time.
Oh, this one, like, okay, so when I was researching DDT,
Uh-huh.
the videos of DDT application are bonkers. So World War II happens. There's a Pacific. They go to the Pacific. So there are mosquitoes and malaria.
Whoa.
And yeah. So what
That's
they
a
do to the
lot of
soldiers?
stuff.
Yeah. So what they do for the soldiers in World War II in Japan, or like on the Japanese like conflict, they just spray themselves with DDT, and it is estimated that it saved a lot of people's lives.
Right. Yeah, and didn't they used to like just drive around neighborhoods spraying this shit?
Oh, all the time. Driving around neighborhoods, flying over
Yeah, because I feel like my
neighborhoods.
dad told me about this too.
Yeah. Well, DDT was considered like a really big issue at the time,
Yeah.
back in the 70s and 60s and such. Um, and that's due in part, it became an issue because of Rachel Carson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what happens is, I mean, the kids are in the pool. I might as well throw some DDT on them. um, oh, we're gonna spray the whole neighborhood with giant gas like clouds. Just stay inside for 5 minutes after we drive past your house. Then you can come back out. Because America saw DDT how effective it was against bugs,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, just put it everywhere you can.
Yeah.
Neighborhoods, farms, every which way, kill all the bugs. Bugs
Yeah.
suck. They don't like bugs.
Yeah. No.
Like, especially mosquitoes. Like it's big mosquito killer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but the one issue with how the government was applying DDT, a lot of it was non-consensual. Um, so if you're in a neighborhood and you don't like DDT, sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck. Yeah.
Sucks to suck. We're putting DDT on your house.
Yeah.
Like, and they put it everywhere. I mean, they're putting this on, but then they start putting it on wildlife refuges.
Yeah.
And that's where like that's where a lot of issues come into play.
Yeah.
Rachel Carson has gone to a prominent position.
Yeah.
So she's just chilling. There's other people around that are also starting to gain notice for their work in wildlife biology and zoology. They're working with animals. They're seeing what impacts from human condition is doing to animals. And up in New Hampshire, there's a flyover. They do a plane flyover of DDT. Well, it goes over a bird sanctuary.
Oh.
Yes. The person who owned the bird sanctuary was like, well, that was awful. You poisoned so many animals and
Did
so
it kill
many
the birds?
Big time.
So it seems like it's not really just a pesticide as much as it's just poison.
Is
that
poison.
Mammals maybe have some more resistance to.
Well, it's mildly toxic towards mammals too.
I mean, yeah. Right.
This is just poison in the air.
Yeah.
But it's bad for birds.
Yeah.
Not only will it kill them and show signs of what is called DDT poisoning, where it will pretty much take a bird out of flight and kill them,
That's terrible.
seize up and suffocate, and it's just a real bad time.
Yeah.
But what it also does to birds, which is one of the bigger issues that was happening, is called egg thinning.
Uh-huh.
So, animals evolve to have these hard shell eggs that they can put on land.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be pretty hard and can't be penetrated by much.
Yeah.
This poison thins that eggshells. So they can just crack with a breeze.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. And it kills not only the birds, but it also kills eggs. So that way there's no offspring even.
Yeah.
So the guy who owns the New Hampshire Bird Refuge and Wildlife Sanctuary sues the U.S. government.
Sure.
It's like, that, you can't do that. You can't
Right.
just walk up and kill a bunch of stuff. Like, we did not approve a flyover for DDT. This is not how you do things. You need to clear it with us. We're also a government entity, so I don't understand how you think you can just do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Because bureaucracy's kind of a
yeah.
bitch.
Yeah, sure is.
And what happens is that they find legal loopholes. The lawyers for these, for the people who were using the DDT, they found holes in the lawsuit. And they're like,
Probably making a lot of money off using DDT, I'm guessing. Probably just through purchase of the chemical.
Well, one of the major companies is DuPont.
Ah, classic.
Yeah, and as everyone knows about DuPont.
Talking about Pennsylvanians.
Yeah, talking about Pennsylvanians, DuPont likes to poison people and try to get away with it.
It's a hobby,
I mean, for how much they do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these lawyers are hired by DuPont and other chemical companies to go into the U.S. government and say, like, nope, your case sucks. Throw it away. Bye. We don't care.
Horrifying.
It's scary because they just had the power and they're putting it everywhere.
Yeah.
So, this person who owned the New Hampshire Bird Sanctuary, I couldn't grab their name. It was kind of hidden.
Yeah.
But they're friends with a real important person in life.
Who?
That's Rachel Carson.
Oh, hell yeah.
So they're like, hey, can you help me? Since you're part of the government, can you do something about this? And Rachel Carson goes, no, I can't. I'm,
Yeah.
I can't with the government. But I had an idea for a book about DDT.
Yeah.
She calls it Silent Spring.
Uh-huh.
It is pretty wild when you read it for the time period. She puts it out, and the first chapters are not even about, it's not introduction of, here, what's DDT? What's this chemical? Why is it bad? It is a horror scene. She writes it like a horror novel.
Interesting.
About a silent spring, which means no birds. You wake up in the morning not to bird calls, but to like poisoned air.
Yeah.
And that's, like, when you think about it, pretty scary stuff.
Yeah. That is scary stuff.
And so she does that as like the opening scene, puts more of a narrative into this like scientific novel, and isn't just like using that skill and using her like prolific writing skills and positions as like a New York Times bestseller. Puts out this book, and it gains traction quickly.
Yeah.
It rises to the top of the charts. Rachel Carson's Silent Spring becomes like a household like book. Like everyone's got a copy of Silent Spring.
Yeah.
So when DuPont and stuff, they start attacking her immediately. They try to say like, oh, Rachel Carson's falsified all this information. Like, she's a liar. Don't believe her. Like, these chemicals are actually like good for you and good for the planet.
Sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm. And so she just fights with them. Unfortunately, Rachel Carson does develop cancer and has a untimely death in 1964. So not too far after this book was published, she passes away.
I just ordered it.
Oh, perfect. I'm glad you did. It's worth it. It's a very worthwhile read. And what happens is because, this book is still talked about, in 1964. Well, the 1960s is the time when kind of more modern environmentalism movements start springing up.
Mm-hmm.
People were using it as an example of how you can platform for like public opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Just because she's high in the government, she's got a lot of fame from writing. So, instead of an actress saying these things, it's just an author saying these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is a lot of these grassroots organizations, people who are trying to get pesticides that are at least toxic to the environment, they're trying to get them off the market. It's still a long fight after Silent Spring's publication.
I'm guessing we haven't won it yet.
They did in
the
United States.
Gotcha.
1972, the United States bans DDT on U.S. soil.
That's good.
Yeah. So no longer could use it on U.S. soil. But in other countries in the world, it was popular.
Yeah.
Especially for agriculture. So DDT was being used on a lot of food.
Yeah.
And and by that time, 2004, there's a lot of imported food coming into America. So you're still eating a lot of DDT processed foods.
Yeah.
Though it's not on U.S. soil, you're still eating this mild toxin. Until 2004.
Whoa.
So 2004, you can't use DDT for agricultural uses. There are still companies who are still trying to push this product.
Yeah.
They're still trying to try to put it back on the agricultural marketplace.
Yeah.
And it's just not working.
That's good.
Which is good. I like that.
I like that too.
But it's still being used in very specific cases now, and it's being super regulated.
Yeah.
And what it's used for mostly now is for malaria in African nations.
Sure.
Because it's a big issue over there. A lot of death and disease spreads through mosquitoes, and with that, the World Health Organization has developed a system for indoor DDT usage to
Ooh,
combat malaria.
interesting.
It's in low doses.
Yeah.
It's, regulated so it's not just like this super toxic, like kill all your brain
Right.
cells type deal. But it's like you can't get rid of this product quite yet,
Yeah.
just because it's really really good at killing bugs.
Yeah.
Just so happens to kill a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just I found this study, this person, her novel, as like a really interesting case of someone using their like prolific platform to talk about a big issue, especially within environmentalism.
It's very inspiring.
Hmm. What are your thoughts on like people platforming and such for environmental
Yeah.
causes?
I mean, it's the most important thing, I think, to give yourself enough credit to understand that any of us as individuals can make a significant change. It may be, I mean, it certainly can be depressing looking at all the issues in the world and thinking about how small one voice is.
Hmm.
But, it's just kind of like voting. If everybody has that perspective of, their voice is useless, then
Hmm.
nobody speaks up. But if everyone I mean, maybe we don't all write Silent Spring and we don't all have a position in the government. But us as individuals try and uplift these issues that are important to us. And that's the only way I think we have a shot at making any change, is using the platform to talk about issues and not cowering away from, the possible blowback of talking about issues, or but
Hmm.
going for it.
Yeah.
I mean, our voices are what we got. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I liked that part of the story. I didn't realize how Rachel Carson was inspired to write the book. It was just like someone called out to help. And
Mhm.
like I think that's what stuck with me when I was researching this a ton, was that person who's in a place of power is doing a lot to help the environment with a bird sanctuary, like creating a
Mhm.
good environment for them. They're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Um, but even if you are doing a great job, it never hurt to like reach out to someone else and say like, "Hey, is there any advice or help you could offer?"
Yeah.
And I found that like to be pretty powerful myself,
Definitely.
because I think a lot of the times, especially with like environmentalism, a lot of people think that it falls on the individual.
Right.
And I think it's powerful to know like you as an individual also have like a lot of people in your like network and
Yeah.
circle that you can also like bring up with you.
Yeah. 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 I think creating that kind of strong community is essential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Far out. What are some? Do you know what are some side effects of DDT? Like, how does that?
So DDT poisoning.
Yes.
I'll pull up what the
There we go.
so humans when there is low dosage
Uh huh.
don't really know anything because it's filtered out quick.
Yeah.
So low dosage, but when there's a lot of dosage,
Yeah.
you vomit,
Yeah.
you have seizures,
That's not good.
you're having tremors.
Yeah.
And it's also linked to being a possible carcinogen
Yeah.
for humans, which is pretty bad.
Yeah. I've also heard that there's possible links to Alzheimer's as well.
Really? And I haven't heard that. I'm looking at the CDC's page right now.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's. That's yeah. It's just it's crazy that these things that are known. I mean, they do their studies on these things and know that it's toxic to human
Yeah.
condition. They're just like, yeah, you could still use it. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that shows how much, a company like DuPont has an influence in our legislation. That, like, what is our government really? Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem to be exclusively people looking out for the objective best interest of the population, but certainly just the best interest of a few stakeholders.
Yeah. And one of the other issues with DDT is it is not easily rid of.
Uh huh.
It sticks around soil. It likes to stick to soil particles
Yeah.
and kind of keep in there for a couple of years, um, which is where some of that that high dosage was starting to come from,
Mm-hmm.
according to a California study by the California government.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, DDT just can stick around and can still be used as an exposure for soil, which
Yeah.
is. We also need our dirt. Dirt's important to the whole living situation we're in.
Yeah. 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 Soil health is kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's illegal now in the United States, and thankfully it is now legal in the world for agricultural use,
Right.
due to just the levels of toxicity towards not only humans, but towards the greater ecosystems at large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see a modern DDT in the society?
Not to the level of
Right.
DDT. A lot of pesticides. Pesticides is a really murky area.
Sure.
I had to take a course on pesticides. Had to
Very cool.
memorize a couple of them.
Yeah.
Don't remember them now, but
Sure. Sure. Sure.
talked about them a lot in one of my agricultural environmental classes.
Yeah.
And it's a question of moderation.
Yeah.
Like they work and they can be beneficial. You
Sure.
know, in the term of killing off like certain fungus, certain
Yeah.
bugs that might ruin a crop. But long-term health benefits and such like that, it's hard to determine.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's due to a lack of study or studies being kind of blocked by companies.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of unknowns, which
Yeah.
is unfortunate because it's important to know like what you should be able to know what's in your food, in my opinion, without having to have a chemical degree.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
it seems a bit over the top,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
You really at this stage in the game, you got to be like a pretty solid investigative journalist to actually figure out what's in your food and where it comes from.
Mm-hmm. Which is unfortunate because like you can see short-term benefits
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Like you can see an abundance of food for certain areas that maybe are struggling to grow that produce due to
Short-term benefits is such an addiction for this society.
it is, and especially now with like people putting like stop clocks on
Yeah.
how long we got left. I'm like, it's not helping the whole short term.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think clearly this DDT story and Rachel Carson story is such a microcosm. I don't think this is DuPont's only lawsuit. Yeah, and the microcosm of how technology shifted in World War I and World War II, where the desire for short-term benefit became so great, and we saw these major shifts in agriculture and how much food was needed to keep soldiers soldiering on. So in some ways, I think capitalism and war is kind of our modern DDT, and
I'd say so.
yeah.
I mean, you look at those train derailments in Ohio.
Yeah, right. There's your modern DDT.
Yeah,
The company taking a complete lack of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
And-
really disheartening.
Yeah, it is. I feel like it's been disheartening to see that happens. The only encouraging thing that I've seen is people actually like getting riled up over it and
Yeah.
starting to discuss the impacts of what are the rules for capitalism
Yeah.
when it comes to the environment.
Actually, this is pretty relevant. This just hit today. Again, today we're 2 podcasts today, so today is still March 26th. But Philadelphia just got a big warning that they should only be drinking bottled water because about 60,000 gallons of paint. What kind of paint was it? What are gloves made out of again?
Latex?
Yeah, 60,000 gallons of latex paint spilled into a water source. So
Are you
it
are
just
you
went
really-
out today that the
Are you-
water is not drinkable in Philadelphia.
Are the people like and stuff okay? Or
They're all buying water bottles, and so it's
Uh.
and you think about so now not only is the water the natural water source poison. Now it's like how much more plastic needs to get purchased.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I actually need to call my family, make sure I'm sure everybody's fine and has taken the proper precautions, but it's just like, oh my gosh, like these, the environment just, the environment really needs to be held up as number one. I mean, it's hard to articulate, right? Like how important it is. Like we are our environment, so everything stems off that. Yeah.
And that's a good like example with like the paint situation is like it kind of gives like more of this idea of environment's impact on human and human impact on environment.
Right.
Because humans spilled some nasty chemicals that they created into the water, but that water just doesn't sit.
Right.
And it becomes part of the human experience again because
Yeah.
water's a function of life. We need water to live, and
Yeah.
people of Philadelphia shouldn't have to just sit there and go like, oh, damn, someone spilled paint in my water. Better go buy some Dasani.
Yeah. So like other people are now making money off this. I mean, I bet a lot of money is going to be made, but the word that comes to mind is unacceptable. Like that is an unacceptable mistake. And
do they know what company did this?
No, I haven't looked too much into it yet,
but the fact that that's the person, like the people who should be like, that should be the front page saying is like, this company is the one who did the bad thing.
It's like with a mistake that large, it's like, yeah, here's what should happen. They should get gutted. They should redistribute the wealth to who's been affected by it. Mm-hmm. And like that company shouldn't they should be backed into the corner and realizing like that is such a major mistake that can't happen.
Because what if some person who's not connected to like the internet and such drinks a whole glass of water?
What about poor people?
Yeah.
What about poor people who now need to work water bottles into their budget? That there's plenty of people who are already going to be in credit card debt, whether they might either be homeless or on the verge of homelessness, and now they got to work this. Like, no, emergency funds should be coming from that organization, distribute it to people who need it to immediately offset this cost.
That's awful. That happened. I saw a headline about it, but I was kind of hoping to save it to talk to you about that. So
yeah, I'm sure I'll be hearing a lot more about it in the next few days. I mean, right now they're saying, buy the water out of an abundance of caution, but I don't believe them for a second.
Well, after the pandemic, I mean, we've seen what people do when they panic.
Yeah, I know. Some people were like, good thing I already had water for preparing for the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And not even just the human. Okay, it was actually more than 8,000 gallons. I think I said like 60,000. Still a lot. Gallons. It's a lot of, acrylic paint actually. So, okay. And not even just the human toll. It's like, okay, how many fish are going to die? And then how are these areas now unfishable for how many years? Mm-hmm. And then where is that going to spread to? I mean, is it going to spread into the Delaware River? It's a big, important river. I mean, I guess that's already pretty polluted from being a major port, but.
Well, and water is such like a valuable resource for not even just like the sense of drinking, but just like its impact on like filtering out toxic waste, wetlands, like habitat for animals, and I mean, even like you said, port, that's consumer trade happens via water.
Yeah. I mean, we're really deep in like solve one problem, create two more. I feel like that's been such a major trend that if we could just like slow down and realize like, okay, what would actually be happy and sustainable? I think everybody would be like, even, of course, like my perspective is so shifted into like, I would be pretty happy hanging out on a farm, not going too many places and just growing food. And I mean, that's the plan after the adventures are over. Right.
Yeah.
And that would like reduce the need for so much trade, like just to start thinking locally, because like the getting things from point A to point B create so many problems. I mean, oil and then spills, not just oil spills, just there's just so much waste for global trade at the rate that we're moving at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's scary stuff out there now.
Yeah.
I say we know we're the number one comedy migration podcast, but
we're also disturbed.
We are disturbed because this is the world we're living in.
Yeah. I mean, definitely have to laugh. I definitely want to feel joy in this life, even though it seems so grim.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems worthwhile to put my energy into reducing the death of the planet. And that's about the only thing that seems worth my energy. TBH.
Exactly.
Yeah. 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 And then it's amazing to think that war is still an option for people. And such a huge waste factor. And of course, inserts so much trauma into society.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so much oil, so much just
so much oil, so much pollution that becomes from it.
Yeah.
Just resource
for nothing. Nothing
harvesting.
Constructive comes from it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
especially coming up on the 20-year anniversary of the invasion of Iraq.
That would make sense. 2003, and it is 2023. So, I mean, the war crimes. I mean, yeah, it's crazy that. I don't know. I don't want to jump too deep into this hole, but just I've been trying to research more of how the government, used the media, hijacked the media, controlled the media to spin a certain thing. I just watched a movie. Let me find it. Oh, it's called The Control Room. It's came out in the early 2000s, and it's about the broadcast station Al Jazeera in Iraq.
Yeah.
All right. This was so interesting to me because it's I've heard the term Al Jazeera for so long. And in my head, it was just registered as oh, I guess that's some kind of weird terrorist organization, because that's just how it was served to me, because Al Jazeera was so heavily criticized, as a kid. I heard a ton of news, but, understood very little.
So quick context real quick. How old are you?
28.
Okay. So there's a 5-year gap distance between you and I.
Yeah.
I'm 23.
Okay.
Because it's interesting that you say that about Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera was actually, when I was growing up, when I was writing papers in high school and college and stuff, I used Al Jazeera as more of a credible source than U.S. Media.
Yeah, well, that's accurate.
That's an interesting dichotomy that you grow up thinking
Right. I mean, I also and I grew up in a Bush-liking household.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the right criticized Al Jazeera as pretty much being a terrorist propaganda organization. So that's where it was registered in my head.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a term paper for one of my English classes on Al Jazeera's story of Guantanamo Bay victims. So that's how I ended up knowing about Al Jazeera and started learning about their kind of messaging.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, so it just makes me think about okay, what's this media getting up to now? What game are they playing?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it's basically the same old game of just inciting a lot of anger and chaos.
Do you feel like there's been a shift at who's the anger's directed at with regards to media, especially in the age now of social media?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think there's a lot of shifts on where anger is directed, and the difference between constructive anger and inciting fear and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
We could go back to thinking about the pandemic and the BLM protest and how a lot of that was covered by major news organizations, and thinking about how the deaths of George Floyd and whatnot were covered by news organizations, where I mean this is just one thing where it's just they're just playing this stuff on repeat while we're all stuck in our houses, inciting basically chaos.
I feel the pandemic had a big role in, I think, media consumption as of the past couple of years.
Yeah. I will say didn't give a lot of credit to major news organizations, but I definitely give them less credit now.
I think I'm in agreement with you on that.
Yeah, like if I'm looking at CNN, it's like I'm looking at, this, like it's like I'm not seeing that as news. It's like it's an opinionated organization. You could say that, I think, about most news organizations. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess be careful where you get your media from, listeners.
Yeah, it's a good question. Where do you get yours from?
It depends.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. I feel like a lot of the media I've got lately is not coming from like a ton of big major organizations, but a lot of individuals who are
exactly.
Spreading the word via social media. I think a lot of people are like, oh, don't read what you think on social media. But I'm like, if you just hold it to a lens,
right,
and do the proper like quick check of, is this something that's reliable? Is this not? I think you can find like pertinent information out of these.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I agree. Like, so I get a lot of my news from social media, and there's just ways to take a deep dive. And I think, being a very smart news consumer is like A1 importance. Yeah, you really can't trust a singular source at all.
Yeah.
No,
it has to just say like, AP, Associated Press said this, and it's like, unfortunately, like it would be cool if like there was an organization that held up.
It would be great. It's a fun idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea in concept, but just unfortunately, we're not living in a society that's yielding that for us, which I find unfortunate.
No, AP has done plenty of terrible things. New York Times has done plenty of terrible things.
Yeah, I feel like everyone says like, oh, Fox News. I'm like, there's a lot of organizations that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's just it just makes no. I mean, you can't just focus the anger. It would be nice if we could just focus the anger on Fox News, but talking about that directed anger in the way that divides people from even being able, like, even beyond news analysis, like being able to stay calm and grounded is good. And like, I feel like there's a lot of, there's so many good reasons to hate Fox News. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound like I'm pro Fox.
We are not Fox sympathizers, just to clarify.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But, I think it's important for at least some people to be able to have a conversation. Again, because like the alternative of violence is really unappealing to me. I don't think I would like that in my life.
No, and something I've noticed too when we talk about getting our information for social media.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times I read more of my news.
Yeah.
Instead of, when I watch any sort of news broadcast, there is a tone in someone's voice.
Yeah.
Directing me on their feelings and how maybe I should start feeling.
Definitely.
And I think reading honestly takes that edge away. I think the wording can still be used in certain manipulative ways.
Sure.
For certain, but I feel like it's just one less tool in the toolbox for
a little less human connection, which is actually probably important. Yeah, and it's not like a news organization really tries to hide it anymore. I mean, on all of these channels, there's so many opinion corners or whatever you want to call it. Like, the bias is clear, and
because I bet if I looked up news articles or talk pieces about Rachel Carson from the time period of Silent Spring's like release, I bet you could find bias like
I bet.
Tone being like, so this book's a load of malarkey there.
Yeah. Do you see like, okay, with modern issues right now, I guess like, do you see like particularly manipulative news now that like concerns you?
I mean, yes.
Yeah. Is there any like hot topic on your mind?
I hear a lot about wind turbines.
Yeah.
That's a topic I hear a lot about as a Wyoming resident.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of, I've seen billboards put up for people just to say like, don't you dare put up a wind turbine. It's going to cause you to die. And it's like, what?
Put up a wind turbine instead of a billboard.
Well, no, they're anti-wind turbine.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like,
why?
like, it's
what's the danger there?
skyline. The sunsets aren't going to be as cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Which
it'd be nice to still have sunsets.
it would be cool, but when I sit there and I look at the area that they're talking about in certain
Yeah.
areas, I'm like, oh, when I look at the sunset, I'm seeing like Conoco signs and
Yeah.
like gas station and fast food signs, like these tall entities that are still like obstructing my view.
Yeah.
We didn't raise a stink on them for some
Yeah.
reason, but when it came to something that was more for a pro idea of like green energy, green resources, because of the biases and voices in news media, it becomes more of a we can't do that actually. No, that's bad
Yeah.
because someone told me it was bad.
Right.
But if I construct a brand new building that's super tall too,
Yeah.
you know, who's this? What I don't know what that does. I don't know anything
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
About
wish
you?
there needs to be more community involvement in energy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that wouldn't help
No.
the people
Yeah,
who
what
own
about-
some stuff.
What about you? What kind of biases and like hot topics have you heard?
Yeah, I mean, I find like I guess like the Russian invasion of Ukraine I find so deeply disturbing and scary
Mhm.
because it's such like a rock and a hard place, and you know, it's like it's so complicated. On what the best course of action is and what to do. Because you have like there's so many elements to it of like Russia being such a major nuclear power and so unstable, you know, seemingly emotionally unstable, and you know how much money is going to Ukraine and how that affects us as citizens. Because I mean, to me it's like it seems like an obvious correlation with current inflation is probably most likely directly related to that.
Mhm.
Because, you know, you saw the fuel inflation shift right in the beginning of that conflict.
Mhm.
So there's like the part of, you know, me wanting to not have my life kind of messed up and have to work harder and harder and harder to make, it's like, you know, the idea right now still of like starting a family seems like, how would I have that much money? It's like, how do you do it?
Exactly.
But like, then what is the right answer? Do you not send aid to Ukraine? Like, how much aid should be sent to Ukraine? It's like, what are we doing here? And it
Yeah.
seems like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different opinions probably being pushed. But at the same time, it's like you were calling out, the U.S. could call out Russia for a war crime. But
Mhm.
wouldn't that involve the U.S. taking a look at their own war crimes?
Yeah,
I mean, what's the difference between Ukraine and Iraq, except that most people have a somewhat of a subconscious racism to not really care so much about the Iraqi people?
exactly.
And it's just the difference is these are white people, so I feel like there's more empathy from the white person.
Well, and it's also a
European.
old enemy. Yeah,
Yeah, and an old
doing it too.
enemy. Right, and I mean, the CIA has been priming us
Mhm.
to hate Russians at the same time. I mean, you know, it's like Top Gun was not an independently funded film. Neither was the second one. Like,
No.
all of these pro-war movies.
And Russian people are like, you know, I think people have this unfortunate like bias towards the
Mhm.
people of Russia because just because their government is committing war crimes
Yeah.
and stuff, like we shouldn't just look and be like, oh, Russia bad. It's like no,
Right.
the government and the
Right,
military are
exactly.
doing military war crimes, crimes against humanity.
And
but
some-
the people
yeah.
living day to day life
Yeah.
are just trying to do what we're doing. They're trying to go to the store. They're trying to
Right.
buy a house somewhere
You're right.
nice and settle. And it's like they're people too.
Right. So it's like how can we hold both governments accountable? And then like the fear factor, like there's part of this fear factor is like which I'm sure is being used to justify more military spending and to build up current arsenals to be like, well, now the US has to be prepared for a potential Russian invasion of you. Right, cuz this is the thing is like we've been on the precipice of World War III since World War II ended.
Mm-hmm.
And these world wars are really just branding deals, like branding
Yeah.
situations of like, oh, this was this world war, but it really is just like there's just this long series of conflicts, some larger than others.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, the probably that fear that like, okay, if Russia invades Ukraine, if Russia invades Ukraine, if this goes further, it could get really, really, really bad for the whole
Yeah.
world. And then like it's like where can it be kept to not escalate things, but also to end that invasion?
Mm-hmm.
It's so fucked.
It's fucked. Like, that's kind of
I don't know. It's so bad.
phrase. It's
Like,
bad, and
I don't have
it's
an
bad on
answer.
all fronts. Like
It's
you
bad
know,
on all fronts, right?
like you have war going on in
Yeah.
another country that we're focusing on. We have,
Yeah.
I mean, chemical atrocities like
Yeah.
like poisoning our water and poisoning
Right.
our people, and it's not some evil entity who's like the big bad government of another country or like this terror cell. It's capitalistic companies who
Right.
are gaining money
Right.
at unprecedented amounts.
Right. And yeah, that's
It's
it.
news.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and it's like it's news media putting
Yeah.
a divide into people who do
Right.
genuinely care about that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think I can walk up to many people and ask them, "Hey, do you care if water's being poisoned?"
Right.
I think 10 people out of 10 people are gonna
Yeah.
tell me that's fucked up. Like, don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Right. And it does come down to capitalism, and it's just such a charged issue. Again, like it's strategically charged. I mean, to have so many people just fully against socialism as a concept to me doesn't really make sense, considering like we have really important social programs, social security, which has been great, right? Like,
Yeah.
but because the powers that be have put in so much effort to say like pretty much equate socialism with authoritarianism, people automatically just hate that idea. And I'm not saying like we need to go into like we should just come up with a new word for a new like I think that would be the smartest move.
Well,
Ditch socialism, ditch capitalism, come up with a new word.
well, I saw the one, I heard it, and it kind of makes sense to me, and it's been a better way to explain it towards people is like
Yeah.
socialized capitalism,
Right.
which is like what like those, everyone points to like Denmark,
Sure.
Sweden,
Yeah.
and they're like they have socialism. It's like it's not socialism. They're still
Free
capitalistic
market.
countries.
Yeah. Free market socialism, any of that. Like just like I love a free market. It's fun. I like choosing my life. But like
Yeah. If like I could get my dental like not tied to what I do for a living or like
we could eradicate homelessness anytime. It could just be done. It could be over. Everyone could have access to mental health care. But like it's an active decision every day by the top 1% to not have that. And it's easy to stay subservient to that top 1% out of pure fear of what, I guess, understanding what the system is and where we lie in it is actually, like, that is a terrifying realization. You know?
It sucks to know that profit over people is the motto of, like, the top 1%.
And it's like the fuel of hatred.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, to end this episode, I
think this is what Rachel Carson, like, this is why she wrote the book, is so
I think
we would
it
have this
genuinely is.
conversation.
I think in that sense, yeah. I think it's to get people to question what they're being told is beneficial towards them.
Yeah.
Not saying like always actively rebel and like, be dissuading of all things. We saw how that worked in the pandemic when people were being told generally positive things about how to like maintain healthy lifestyles in a pandemic sense. Like you can't just dissuade all information given to you, but you should be, in the sense, curious enough to dig into what's being told to you.
Yeah.
Because you might find that it is beneficial, or in the case of DDT and Rachel
Right.
Carson, it could be poisoning the water, killing birds in an unprecedented amount of numbers, and being linked to cancer. So, like, you do your research. I think it's an overused phrase, but
I hope we don't have another pandemic. That sucked.
That one hurt.
That one
was.
still crawling my way out of that thing.
I am feeling the impacts of it still.
I think a lot of people are.
Yeah. I think just in general, like, be aware. I think that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Just be aware of the information being told to you and where it's coming from. And because with the case of Rachel Carson and DDT and Silent Spring, there was misinformation by the government, by DuPont Chemical and other chemical. I don't want to say it's just DuPont. There were a multitude of others. DuPont was just one of the more major ones that we still see them doing negative things to this day. Just like I don't know, just be aware.
Like, stop watching TV, talk to your neighbors, and when people try to fight with you, try and have a conversation.
Exactly, and just like
Try not to fight so much.
no, and take that accountability. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it stinks to not be able to do certain things because things are, toxic to the environment. But maybe we gotta like take a step back and say, hey,
Yeah.
maybe we can do without that activity or
Yeah.
chemical or
Yeah.
vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, it'd be pretty radical to start, like, growing your own food, understanding how much energy you're using, make peace with
Mhm.
your family and friends,
Yeah.
and just try and, like, be happy. And
So thank you, Rachel Carson.
so thank you, Rachel Carson.
You really showed us the path.
Yeah, no, I mean, we gotta give shout outs to these people who have even given us an idea of how we could use our voices.
Mm-hmm. No, I think she, especially being a woman in the 1950s and stuff, and being a figurehead for science in a time where environmentalism wasn't on the forefront of everyone's mind.
Yeah.
And breaking gender barriers, which is always awesome to see. We love it. We're
Mhm.
always in support of it. And I like these my bonus episodes of highlighting people who are pretty important to what we do every day.
I agree. And yeah, I think I'm with you there. Staying grounded, staying kind of peaceful, knowing that the government aims to manipulate people into fighting,
Mm-hmm.
and that is not productive usually.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for listening to the Made for
Yes.
Watching bonus episodes. A little bit of a darker one today, but
But it's a dark world. So
it's important to
yeah.
laugh, but also sit down and be serious at times.
Yeah. I'm sure we will come back soon and with plenty of jokes
Mm-hmm.
and silliness to keep up the spirits for the good, to fight the good fight.
All right, then. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for all the support and listening, and we really appreciate you.
Yeah, go take a walk. Ooh,
Go take a walk.
go take a
I think
walk.
you guys were made for walking.
That's why you're here.
Exactly.